When people think of Africa, the images are often limited to poverty and conflict, a single, incomplete story. But Africa is a continent of staggering wealth, holding a massive share of the world's most critical resources. From diamonds in Botswana to cobalt in the Congo, platinum in South Africa, and oil in Nigeria, Africa is the planet's treasure chest. Its wealth isn't just underground. It's in fertile lands, powerful rivers, and, most importantly, its people. Africa has the youngest population on Earth, a demographic advantage as other regions age. This human capital could redefine the global economy if properly nurtured. So why the disconnect? For centuries, Africa's story has been told by outsiders focused on extraction, not creation. The narrative has been shaped to serve others, obscuring the continent's true potential. It's time to change the channel and tell the full story. Africa is not poor. It's a rich continent systematically impoverished. But a new chapter is beginning. A generation of Africans is asking, what if we controlled our own resources and built our own future? The answer isn't just a dream, it's a roadmap to a transformed Africa. Let's explore how that transformation can happen. How can a continent so rich in resources be home to some of the world's poorest populations? This is the Great Resource Paradox. Africa holds 30% of the world's mineral reserves, 12% of its oil, and 40% of its gold. Yet many African nations rank at the bottom of global development indexes. The Democratic Republic of Congo supplies over 70% of the world's cobalt, yet remains one of the poorest countries. Nigeria is a top oil producer, but still imports refined gasoline and struggles with poverty. This isn't accidental. It's the result of an extractive economic model imposed for centuries. The real money isn't in raw materials, but in processing, manufacturing, and branding. By exporting raw resources, Africa exports jobs and profits, missing the chance to build stable economies. Economies become dangerously dependent on commodity prices, leading to cycles of debt and stalled development. The wealth flows out, while poverty remains, a legacy of a system designed for someone else's benefit. Breaking this cycle means rethinking how Africa engages with its own resources. The solution lies in moving up the value chain. The biggest profits go to those who sell finished products, not raw materials. This is the value chain, and it's why Africa remains poor despite its wealth. Take cocoa. Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana produce over 60% of the world's cocoa, but capture only a fraction of the $130 billion global chocolate industry. They do the hard work of farming, but miss out on profits from processing and branding. The same story applies to minerals. The DRC exports raw cobalt, which is refined and turned into batteries elsewhere, multiplying its value. If African countries could process resources domestically, they'd capture a much larger share of global markets. This isn't just about money, it's about economic sovereignty. Exporting only raw materials leaves economies vulnerable to global price swings. Creating finished products builds resilience, skilled jobs, and innovation. Instead of being just suppliers, African nations can become creators of technology and industry. The shift up the value chain is essential for Africa's wealth to benefit Africans. It's a fundamental change, one that's long overdue. The question is, what's holding Africa back from making this leap? Let's look at some real-world examples. Let's zoom in on 3 countries, the DRC, Ghana, and Nigeria. The DRC's mineral wealth is estimated at $24 trillion, yet its people remain among the world's poorest. Foreign companies extract the wealth, leaving little for the state or its citizens. Ghana, the world's second-largest cocoa producer, exports raw beans and gold, but remains vulnerable to price shocks. If Ghana processed even half its cocoa, it could double or triple export earnings and create thousands of jobs. Nigeria, Africa's oil giant, exports crude, but imports refined fuel due to outdated refineries, losing billions each year. These countries aren't poor for lack of resources, but because they're stuck in a model designed to benefit others. They export raw potential instead of harnessing it. The story of lost value in these nations is a microcosm of Africa's wider struggle. The path forward is clear. Break free from the raw material trap. Build industries that add value, create jobs, and secure economic destiny. The opportunity is enormous if these countries can seize it. But to do so, they need more than just resources. Moving from raw exports to manufacturing requires more than ambition, it needs infrastructure. You can't build factories without reliable power, roads, and digital networks. Africa's energy deficit is a major barrier, but the continent has vast potential for renewable solar, hydro, and geothermal. Tapping into this could power a green industrial revolution. Transport is another challenge. Colonial-era infrastructure connects mines to ports, not countries to each other. A modern Pan-African transport network would boost trade and slash business costs. Digital infrastructure is just as vital. High-speed internet connects businesses, enables services, and fuels innovation. While mobile phone use is high, affordable broadband lags behind. Investing in power, transport, and digital networks is crucial for Africa to process its own resources. With the right infrastructure, Africa becomes a magnet for global investment on its own terms. Building infrastructure is one thing, breaking old systems is another. Colonial trade patterns still shape Africa's economies, funneling raw materials out and keeping value abroad. Intra-African trade remains low. Countries often trade more with Europe or China than with each other. The African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, aims to change this, creating the world's largest free trade zone. Foreign ownership of mines and plantations means most profits leave the continent. Stronger governance and transparent contracts are needed to ensure local benefits. Corruption is another major obstacle, siphoning off revenues and eroding public trust. Tackling corruption isn't just good governance, it's an economic necessity. Without it, even the best plans for industrialization will fail. Overcoming these challenges is tough, but not impossible. There are already examples of success. Botswana offers a powerful example of what's possible. At independence, Botswana was among the world's poorest countries. Then diamonds were discovered. Unlike others, Botswana formed a joint venture with De Beers, ensuring a fair share of profits. The government invested diamond revenue in schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Botswana moved up the value chain, negotiating to bring diamond sorting and sales to its capital, Gaborone. Now, Botswana is a global hub for diamond trading, cutting, and polishing. It captures more value from its resources and has built a stable democracy. The journey isn't perfect. Diversification is still needed. But the lessons are clear. With good governance and vision, natural resources can fuel national prosperity. Botswana proves the resource curse isn't inevitable. It's a choice. Other African nations can follow this path, using their unique resources as catalysts. The key is making different choices. What if Africa acted as one powerful economic bloc instead of 54 competing countries? Initiatives like the African Union's Agenda 2063 and AfCFTA aim for this unity. A united Africa could negotiate better deals, set continent-wide standards, and demand value-added investment. Instead of a race to the bottom, it would be a race to the top. Financially, a united Africa could create its own powerful institutions, and even a common currency backed by its resources. This would reduce dependence on foreign currencies and strengthen Africa's voice in global finance. Unity isn't about erasing identities. It's about strategic cooperation for shared prosperity. It means building infrastructure and markets no single country could achieve alone. A single African market of 1.4 billion people would become a new global economic center. The world would see Africa not just as a source of raw materials, but as a peer and powerhouse. The potential is enormous if Africa acts together. Transforming Africa from a raw material supplier to a creator of finished goods would be a defining story of the 21st century. The most immediate impact? Millions of skilled, well-paying jobs for Africa's youth. Economies would become resilient and diversified, no longer hostage to commodity price swings. Trade balances would improve, currencies would strengthen, and governments could fund their own development. This economic empowerment would drive human development, better schools, healthcare, and social safety nets. Poverty would fall, life expectancy would rise, and a new middle class would emerge. The narrative would shift from need to opportunity and leadership. This future isn't a distant dream. The seeds are already being planted. The will to overcome challenges is growing stronger every day. By taking control of resources, building infrastructure, and uniting, Africa can unlock its hidden wealth. The result? A richer, more powerful continent offering prosperity and dignity to all its people. The dawn of Africa's new era is here.